I'm Hillary Sloan, and this is Driftwood Conversations. There is something about the creative spirit that needs to explore, question, and reshape the world in both seen and unseen ways. Sometimes it moves in a wild, unstoppable current, pulling us toward new places, ideas, and ways of being. Other times it goes quiet, needing solitude, stillness, and time to regenerate. My guest today, Jill Lust, understands this intimately. She has shaped her life around movement and reinvention, following an inner rhythm that has led her across continents and through times of transformation. Jill and I are kindred spirits in many ways. We both understand the restless call of creativity, the way it asks us to leap, risk, and trust. We also know the quieter side of it, when inspiration fades and the only way forward is to sit in stillness and wait. Today we are going to talk about Jill's nomadic life, her search for beauty and belonging, and the challenges of honing her creative voice. It's a conversation about freedom, reinvention, and the courage it takes to build a life that isn't just lived, but deeply felt. Jill, thank you for joining me.
I was just thinking about how every time I have a conversation with you, just something magic happens. It's like synopsis fire that have never been fired before. And I think about things in a different way or a new light or just see a different perspective. I'm so lucky to have several women in my life now that are very different than I am. And I used to seek out people like me. And I realized how amazing it is to have a diversity of friends with a different way of seeing things. And it opens up so much. And just by having these conversations, as women especially, I think it's just, we so need that time to just be able to process, to unravel and put things back together and just be able to feel heard and understood, especially in these extremely challenging times where the world is going crazy. So thanks for having me and having a conversation.
Jill, right now you're living a nomadic life, and that's what we're kind of talking about. I would love to be on the road, and I've done that at times in my life, and I can't right now. I'm sort of have to stay here and take care of things, and that's fun too. It's a different experience. But so let's start. How did you get to where you are right now?
When people think, oh, nomadic life, I'm just constantly wandering from place to place to place to place. And what I've been doing for the last 4 years is I have 3 homes. I have in Italy and in Oaxaca, Mexico, and in Joshua Tree. So I've mostly been going between those 3 places. I have done some other traveling. So it's not like I'm every day just picking up and where's next. I'm kind of just happen to live in 3 different places. And I've been doing that to the extent that for the last 4 years, I have not been in any one place for more than 3 months. It's wonderful in many ways, but it's starting to wear on me a bit. I'm starting to think, where do I want to spend a bigger chunk of my time?
Well, some of the 3-month conditions have to do with you have to leave for visas, right?
Yes, yeah. Like in Italy, I'm only allowed to be there for 3 months. In Mexico, I can be there for 6 months at a time, cross the border and come back. I have several friends who have residency there. Usually when I come back to Joshua Tree, it's because I have a renter who's moved out of my house and I have to reset the house and find someone else, or it's usually for that purpose. So haven't been really living here all that much, but I came back 2 months ago with the intent of staying put here for at least 6 months. And 3 weeks after I got here, I found a $200 flight to Barcelona and booked it. So I am leaving again on Monday and going to Spain and Italy.
How long are you going to stay in Spain?
So I'm on the front end. I'll just be there for 2 days because I'm meeting friends' parents and getting them to my little village in Roccavivara. So I'll just be in Barcelona.
And where is that? That's Italy.
Yes. Yeah. So I'll just be in Barcelona for 2 days and then fly into Rome. And I have a home in Roccavivara in the Molise.
And that's on the Sicilian island. Describe that.
No,
Where is
so
that?
if you go halfway between Rome and Naples and across to the Adriatic side, I am about 40 minutes from the coast of the Adriatic Sea. If you look at Italy, there's the little heel of the boot and the little spur above that. Just above, if you go inland 40 minutes from there, there's my little house in my tiny town.
So you're not on the beach?
No, but like I said, 45 minutes from out my door to on the sand. Yeah.
And describe the village, the place.
It's very small. It's one of those dying little hilltop towns. I did not buy one of those $1 houses. I would not advise that. My house was habitable. It's a big old stone house in the middle of the city, so you can't even drive up to my house. You have to walk about 50 stairs to get to my house. And it's, a huge old stone house that could be, there's a lot I could do to it, but what I have done is just kind of cute it up, clean it up, scrub it. I mean, it was empty for more than 10 years. And I just got it to the point where it felt good to me and habitable. It's habitable. Yeah.
How did you find it?
So I was obsessed with this website with all these cheap houses listed, and I was spending a lot of time looking at all these really very inexpensive houses. And finally, I was like, I have to go. I have to go see. This doesn't even seem possible. I have to go see this region, see what it's like. I hadn't been to that area of Italy. I'd only been to Tuscany and, the places everyone goes. So I went, and my sister last minute decided to come with me. And we drove into the middle of nowhere, Italy, looked at some houses, and it was incredibly beautiful. Absolutely fell in love with the area, almost bought a house on that trip and talked myself out of it. Like, oh, this is crazy. You don't buy a house a 12-hour flight from where you live in another country where you don't speak the language, and that would just be crazy. It's exciting to think about, but not feasible. And I talked myself out of it. And 2 years later, I stumbled on the website again, got obsessed with looking again, talked my daughter into joining me on her spring break to go back and look at houses, and found the house that I ended up buying. And this time I didn't talk myself out of it. I bought it 15 minutes after being in it.
That's been a dream for me, damn you. And there's so much about living that way, just getting up, going. But where did that come from? You haven't always lived like that.
No, you were talking a little bit about you grew up sort of a bit nomadically, and
Not my family, me.
but you, yeah,
In my head.
yeah. Oh, all right, yeah,
Yeah, just my head.
yeah. So I grew up and I lived in the same house from the time I was 2 years old until the time I left when I was 18, and Des Moines, Iowa. I always dreamed also of running away. My parents were. We went to a church where the missions program was really huge, and we entertained a lot of missionaries. Had a lot of missionaries come to dinner, and they were always talking about these exotic, far-flung places where they were missionaries. And I really fell in love with that idea. And for a long time, that's what I thought I wanted to do, was be a missionary in some foreign exotic land. But instead, I moved to Hollywood.
Wait, I'm going to stop you for a minute because it's funny. So I come from a Jewish family, but my dream was to be a nun.
Oh, wow. See? Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe live in one of those castles over in Italy or something.
Yeah.
But how did you feel about religion or spirituality? Did it come into play for you?
It was such a big part of my upbringing. There are parts of me that hang on to parts of that, but I have strayed very, very far from the sort of a dogma of organized religion in general. I have a very spiritual side to me. I still believe certain fundamental things, but I think that religion in general, organized religion, most churches can be a really destructive thing. I don't really see the merit of it at this point in my life.
So you've taken it to a quieter place.
Much quieter, yeah.
Inner.
Much broader. Inner and everywhere. Like it's somehow more inner, but also more expansive. I just feel like there's so much more to it than can be taught from any text or
Or every text,
Or
every
yes,
poem, every book. Yeah.
just there, I think it's an innate thing for all of us. I think we all have a desire to feel a closeness with some kind of a creator or for deeper meaning in life and thoughts about what happens after life. And I think those answers might be different for everyone. And I just think to ever say that there is this one path, you believe this one way, or you are damned to an eternity of fire, or, whatever it is. I just think it comes to different people in different ways, just like inspiration and ideas do, like we were talking about earlier. And I just think it has to be more inclusive and more innate.
I do too. I do too. And I was never really given a base in religion. My parents sort of shrugged it off, but so I searched for it. And I've searched all sorts of different
Were you
practices.
ever Hare Krishna?
No, I didn't do Hare Krishna. I went more Christian. Christian science, Christian science.
Yes, yeah.
I looked at it. I looked at it seriously, and I had no problem with the Bible or going to the Bible rooms, the reading rooms, and having quiet time and researching inside myself.
Mhm.
But when I looked at the congregation, I did not see people that were progressing.
Right.
It was almost as if time stopped.
Yeah. But, I have judged, I've also wandered into a few different religious organizations. And I just spent a month in an ashram this summer in Wales, of all places. And it was an amazing experience for me. We were talking about the word transformative. And I think so many things offer you a transformation. This will change your life. And I think 99.999% of the time, that's not going to happen. It was transformative for me. It really was. But again, the specific set of teachings or what happened to me had less to do with a certain ideology than the methodology. If you spend enough time every day in yoga, meditation, chanting, you get to that inner place, right? You quiet everything down. You are forced, days of silence, you're forced to deal with everything that comes up in your mind. And you get to a place where you will either break or you will be enlightened in some way. And I did have an experience of feeling like I had some enlightenment. But also, I looked at the organization in general and the place. I wanted to leave almost every day. It was a 28-day program. And almost every day I had to talk myself into staying. And I'm glad I did, because the big aha didn't happen until the day before the last day of the program. I just didn't see joy in the people that were running the place. And for me, that is the ultimate goal for anything in life, is to find the joy and spread the joy. And if you don't have joy, then something's missing.
Where do you get your greatest joy?
Circling back to the nomadic life, for me, that really just the sense of always not knowing what might happen that day, having a sense of adventure, exploring new places. I feel like I've been able to literally squeeze in extra lives within this life by moving to a foreign country where I don't speak the language and don't know anything, and buying a house and living there. It's like I got this whole extra little bonus life squeezed into this one. And I can find joy almost anywhere because I look for it. But living that way really does, living creatively, having the freedom, the space to explore new things is what brings me joy.
So a lot of people are going to say, I'd love to do that, but I can't afford it, or I have obligations, or how do you just pick up and go?
Yeah.
What would you say to them?
So, like with any dream that you have, you just have to make it happen. And there are ways to make it happen. Like people say this to me all the time. Wow, you must be independently wealthy. And I am absolutely far from that. And what I tell people all the time is what you spend on your cable bill every month, I spend on a plane ticket. I mean, I live super frugally, super simply. I have made that my priority. I don't spend a lot of money on really anything else anymore. I don't want more things. I don't want to accumulate things. I want experiences. And there were times I looked at my life and thought, oh, I've had all these experiences, but I have nothing to show for it. I don't have this, or I don't have that, and my friends have this, or, I sold my big house so that I had money to travel, and now I don't have that. But I realize now, especially as I'm going really into the last quarter of my life, I was thinking about this. I am in the last quarter of my life. It's like, what do I need to accumulate more things for? Like, all I want is experiences, and all I want to leave behind is nothing. That's having those experiences and growing in ways that aren't tangible. You can't see what I've accumulated. So that's hard sometimes. I still sometimes feel like I don't have anything to show for it, but I am living the life I want to live. And it's very doable. I rent out my house and live in other countries on the income from that rental. Even Italy the cost of living is far more accessible than here. And Mexico, for sure, I had a really cute apartment for very little money. And so I've been able to do it without working a lot, even this past several years.
Let's back up a second.
Yeah.
You're very creative. I met you when you had a store, but I know you've been a hairdresser, you've been a food stylist, you've had a restaurant, you've had businesses. So in a way, you've experimented with a lot of different modalities, businesses, practices. You've done a lot in your life.
Yeah.
Now, what is the theme? What is the theme of all of it? Is it creative?
For sure. Like, creativity is a huge part of everything that I do. I do not have one modality, just like with the careers and the places I've lived. I really admire and respect people who have that one thing that they always knew that they wanted to do, and they spend their entire lives dedicated to do it. I'm not that person. I've always wanted to explore new things and try new things, and that's what drives me. That's what makes me happy. It comes at a cost. When you leave every 3 months, it's hard on relationships. It's hard on the people that love you. It's hard in many ways. It's hard on me physically at this point sometimes to be in so much transition constantly.
I realized that creativity was so major for me.
Right.
And it went through every career, everything I've done in school, looking at magazines, and I never knew how I would use it or if I could use it.
Right.
Being an artist is not a lucrative job.
Right.
Particularly in any field. There are a few that make it, and bless them, but many don't. But if it's in your blood, if everything you look at, you move something to make it balance.
Yeah.
You look at a house in Italy and you think nothing could be more beautiful.
Yeah.
And it speaks to you.
Absolutely. Yeah. With the house, especially, I looked at a lot of houses, but this particular house, I walked inside of it, and it's everyone in the house was on the market for 10 years. I mean, no one wanted this house. It is not considered beautiful by the people who live in that town. It's an ugly house, brutta, casa brutta. And to me, it's beautiful because every crumbling brick is history to me. And coming from a country where anything that's 100 years old is considered ancient, and to go to this place and live in a house that was built in 1700 something, there's just a feeling about it. And yeah, I walked into this house and I just started bawling. Like the waterworks just came on. I could, like a faucet in my eyes. I just couldn't stop crying. And I thought, I am going to have to calm myself down, or these people, because the family is present for the showing, they're going to think I'm crazy. They're not going to sell me their house. So I stepped outside and calmed down. But there was it was more of a feeling of the house. Was it incredibly beautiful architecturally? I can't even explain the bond that I instantly had with that house. And the potential, that's what the light was amazing. The space was amazing. And what I've done with the house is very creative in that I really haven't done any major renovations, but I've taken this unloved sad, kind of neglected house and turned it into what feels to me like just a giant playhouse. I feel like I live in a dollhouse, like when you're a little kid and you have one of those big playhouses and you decorate the rooms and I just wander around sometimes from room to room and just feel like I'm living in a life-size playhouse.
Did you buy furniture? Did you buy it over there?
No, it came with some very minimal furniture, and I have added very little furniture. I have 3 bedrooms with beds in them. I did just buy a really old couch, but to me, the idea of going to IKEA and filling up this old house with IKEA crap.
Do they even have IKEA in it?
They do. Yes, they do.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
And there aren't used furniture stores very much there, that kind of thing, because nobody wants that old stuff. Like what, it's worthless to them.
Do you go garbage pit?
They don't do that. I mean, it's
Oh, that's New York.
yeah, it's very different from here. You can't go to thrift stores and
What do they do? Do they change over their furniture?
so I think they just must go to a dump somewhere. There are a few places that do sell old furniture, and I have gotten pieces from there. And there are flea markets for antiques, like nice antiques. So yeah, there's not a lot of furniture in my house, which I love that too. I love just like the big open.
Well, you must have had to buy kitchen supplies.
Yeah, but very, very minimal. I have but 2 pans and a wooden spoon, and I cook a lot there. And it's just amazing how pared down my life is there. I had an Italian teacher who would come to my house and teach me lessons, and I asked him once, should I worry about the house when I'm gone? Do they have problems with people breaking in? Or he said, for what? You live in a poor house. And I said, yeah, you're right. I do. There's nothing here to steal. There's nothing, but I'm living this poor life. And I feel the richest I ever had. Like, there's just something to living your life to the rhythm of the bells. Like, I literally get up and I walk down to the old fountain and fill my water bottles and forage fruit on the way home and have my little breakfast. And, it's a very simple life with very few things. And I am probably the happiest, most at peace with myself when I am there in that place.
It sounds very religious, actually.
Yeah.
And it's not religious, but like living the life of a nun.
Yeah. Yeah. I am very alone there. It is, and those are I've talked about the beautiful romantic parts. The difficult parts are I am not very accepted by the community. A woman living on her own is not looked highly upon. God forbid I go sit in the square and have a beer and use the internet by myself. Women do not go to the bar. I mean, it's very backward in a lot of ways. The fact that I am just so independent, I come there alone, I rent a car, I trot through the square with my beach bag off to the beach. And, and I think they don't understand. I'm a foreign concept, really. Now there are more controversial figures moving into town, so I've taken a back seat. But there are people there who've never been around someone who doesn't speak Italian. Like, don't understand the fact that I don't understand what they're saying. And I have made an effort to learn the language. I have failed miserably at it and kind of given up for the moment. I will get back to it. But yeah, I definitely don't feel like I'm ever going to be accepted by the community there. But there's something about feeling like an outsider that's very comfortable for me. One of your questions, you talked about like finding that's your sense of place. And wherever I go, in some ways I feel at home wherever I go. In other ways, I don't feel like I belong anywhere. And it's easier to feel like you don't belong when you are in a place where you literally don't belong than when I say come back here, where I have a life here and I know people and I'm from this country and I should feel like I belong here, and I don't feel that here either. So it's easier to feel that sense of not belonging in a place where there's a reason for it.
There's so many books, and I can't even remember all the titles, but there's so many authors that did just what you're doing. They became expats. They went to these places. They got in touch with something deep within themselves. Are you writing?
I am writing. I am writing.
And reading?
Yeah, I read a lot. I'm writing. I'm almost finished with my first book, and I've started a second one, and very based on experiences that I had in Italy. I started the book there. I was talking to my daughter, and she was telling me about this crazy dream that she had the night before. And I said, I never remember my dreams. I should make more of an effort to do that. And that night, I went to sleep thinking, okay, I want to remember my dream. And I had this crazy dream. And I woke up and just grabbed a pen and a notebook and started writing. And I cannot tell you one thing about that dream, but whatever was in that dream, this idea came to me and I just started writing and writing and writing and writing. The next thing I knew, it was dark. So all day from the time I woke up to the time that I realized, oh my gosh, like it's the day is gone. I basically kind of scripted out the concepts for this book. I had never written on a scale like that ever, like short stories or poems or just journaling. The book pretty much kind of started writing itself to the point there when it didn't, and it became work for me. I'm like, okay, now I need to hone this in and refine this and edit this, and the ending needs work. And when those parts are, the creative inspiration wasn't with me and I had to do the real work, it has now sat basically for 2 years. And I will go back and look at it and do a little work and put it away and look at it and do a little work. And so now I just need to get down to, a little self-discipline and just finish it and put it out there, whether it's, great or not, and get on to the next one.
I want to talk about something here. So before all this happened, about 5 years ago, you went through a divorce and you went through cancer scare.
Mm-hmm.
That must have really turned you all upside down. Your thinking, your life plans, everything. How did that time affect you? And how do you think that contributed to wanting to just get rid of material stuff and be free?
I had a nickname in my 20s that someone called me, and they called me FQ, and I wasn't sure what that meant, and I wasn't sure I wanted to know. But I found out that it was Freedom Queen, right? So, my friends were calling me the Freedom Queen. And I realized at that time, I didn't even realize that I was. And yeah, my freedom that's always been the struggle in a relationship. So finding that balance of feeling like I have my own personal freedom and then giving everything that it takes to make a relationship work. But I was able to do it, I was with my husband for more than 20 years until I couldn't. The cancer thing was a huge catalyst for that. I didn't feel supported going through that journey. And then the pandemic, he kind of shut down. So anyway, it was really hard to leave. And I'm still not technically divorced. We haven't been together more than 4 years, but technically we're still married. I woke up one day and really was just like, I just knew to my very core, I cannot do this anymore. This ship is sinking, and either I go down with it or I got to get out of here. And I just said, I loved Oaxaca, Mexico. I'd been visiting Oaxaca for 15 years off and on. It just gets in your blood. And I had friends there, and I had always wanted to really spend some time living there. And I just said, hey, look, I'm going to Mexico. I'm going to Oaxaca. It's not just a trip. I'm moving there. I'm done. And I left. That was 4 years ago, and I have not quit running since. Am I running towards something or away from something? And both and neither, all of that. But I'm just kind of letting the wave take me where it will at the moment. I only buy one-way tickets now. I'm not even a round trip. So
If you were to meet your younger self now,
yeah,
what would you say?
just don't sweat it, man. I think that really, I think of all of the things that we get so bogged down by and caught up in that we think are so important, and the stuff that we give so much of our energy to, trying to find our place in the world, or trying to make big decisions, figuring out what we want to do with our lives, and And honestly, if you are in the right mindset, you're doing everything you can to just work on yourself internally, like deal with your trauma and be a better human and, just putting yourself out in the world and pursuing things that excite you and, following your dreams and being creative and looking for things that inspire you, it will just come. Life will happen. We don't have to try so hard to make it happen or feel like we have to choose our path. Or I wish I had worried so much less about so many of the little things that I thought were important and gave so much attention to. And just like, man, just like just let it happen. Life will happen. You don't have to, you'll be in the right place. It will put you where you need to be. Inspiration will come. Just quit fighting it so hard. Don't work so hard to make it work. Just let it work for you.
It's pretty good. You could have yelled it at me too. What are you reading right now? Any?
At the moment, I am reading Big Magic by Elizabeth Gilbert, and it is all about finding your creativity and living a creative life. Her big thing is that for so many people, the fear holds them back, the fear of being judged, the fear of trying something and failing, and I don't think I've ever had the fear to create. But she also talks about the practical side of it. Like she never, like you were mentioning earlier, the artistic life is not a very lucrative one for most people. Most people cannot support themselves doing their art, whatever it is. You can't let that stop you. Keep your day job, have some source of income, be self-sufficient, and work at it. And I think what I lack is the self-discipline to really see a project through to its end, to really put the time in, even when I'm not feeling the creative inspiration. And, she talks about really dedicating yourself to that creative life, whatever it is. And I tend to be a little more fly by the seat of your pants and what strikes me at the time. And I realize if I really want anything to come of my creative time, I really need to be a little more disciplined to see it through. But I apply that to everything I do. Like cooking, we talked about food is a huge thing in my life. And even if I'm just home making a meal for myself, it's a creative process for me. It really is. It's got to be flavorful and beautiful. And I love making food that looks as pretty as it tastes. And, I think everything I do, I want to just bring out the best in simple things, simple ingredients, simple home remodeling project. It's on a shoestring budget, and I gather things I think are cool and I try to make them work somehow. And sometimes you have to know when to throw something out also, like this just doesn't work here. So an editing process, and I can do that when I'm remodeling a house. When writing a book, it's a little harder.
Well, everybody would agree with you there. But as an artist, we're taken to flights of fantasy.
Oh, yeah.
We get on planes in our imagination. We go here, we go there. Finishing projects is a whole nother thing. It's discipline.
Yeah.
Are you learning how to cook? Are you learning the real recipes from both Mexico and Italy?
No. Absolutely.
Go back and learn.
No, because I don't use recipes. So I had to. I was a food stylist for 17 years. I had to follow the recipe that I was given. So to me, following a recipe is a job. Cooking for me is a creative process, using whatever I have. Like if I go to the store with a shopping list and a recipe and I have to buy these 12 ingredients to make this one dish and follow a recipe, that is not creative. It is not fun. It is a job. So I am so inspired by the colors and the ingredients and, the chilies and the, wherever I am, I'm very inspired by using the fresh and local ingredients. But especially in Italy, you do not vary the recipe. This is how spaghetti carbonara or whatever is made. Like, and I don't cook that way. I don't want to cook that way. I could care less about tradition and following the old, I like learning about it. My favorite days in Italy have been making tomato sauce with my neighbors or making cavatelli pasta with, my friend's Nonna. And I respect it. I enjoy learning it, but I don't follow that. Like when I cook, I just, it might fail. It might come out terrible. Oh, well, that didn't work. And that's okay because it's for me not about following a recipe. It's about following a passion when I cook.
So in everything you've said to me, I keep honing it down. And I relate to everything, including not following recipes. But what I see is that creativity. The core of everything is curiosity, delving deeper and working with that creative spirit that you have is different than mine. It comes out in different ways, but it's there. We both have it. That's why from day one, the first day we met, we looked at each other and went,
You're my people.
yeah, I want to talk to you. I've always found it's a challenge to rein in the creative part of myself,
Yeah,
to teach it how to work with limitations,
right.
to discipline.
Uh-huh.
I'll get really hyper, to calm down the hyper. It has been, for me, years and years. I have a long life right now.
Yeah.
To learn how to work with it. And I'm just finding a trade, the podcast,
Right.
that is actually celebrating all those parts of me. Are you relating to that?
Yeah, I'm relating in a kind of opposite way. In that I think almost the older I get, the less I try to hone it in. My daughter just made a comment the other day about a certain project I was working on. She said, "Yeah, you were really manic then." When like you said, we can spin, right? When we get in these really creative places, we can spin out a bit. But I've never spun so far. I feel like I'm over the edge or out of control or it's dangerous in it anyway. So I'm not a very disciplined person. And maybe in my next life, I tackle that one. I don't see me honestly learning to be a very disciplined person. In fact, I'm kind of letting more and more go of that. I'm slowing down a bit, a lot. I'm quieting down. I'm much more introspective and need time alone. And
That's a discipline in itself, though.
yeah, you're right.
That's a discipline, yeah.
Thank you. You're right because I have didn't necessarily come naturally. I have spent time learning to do nothing and enjoying doing nothing and not jumping and running after the next project. Like I've been waiting, like really waiting the next big inspiration. And sometimes I feel like, okay, I just need to pick something and do it. Maybe I'll start a podcast, right?
That's still about doing, and that's
Yeah.
me. But there are people in this world that have done so many great things and nobody knows about them.
Oh, for sure.
They've just gone into that sacred place
Yeah.
and lived that.
Millions of people who have probably done far more creative things, written better books, painted better art,
Or accomplished nothing in the business.
but who we've never heard of because they didn't care about being famous, being known, getting their work, out there, or that just didn't happen for them. Being famous or being well known or having people know your work is zero relation to whether or not you are a success at your creative endeavor. I think that's a very Western concept. Unless you got rich and famous doing it, you were not successful. And that is just such crap.
Well, we certainly see the division in that right now.
Right.
There's a lot of people with money that now have acquired power. I don't know what they're bringing to the world in terms of peace. And
They're not, yeah. Because they've lost all sight of caring about anything that doesn't make more money and more power. And those are the most corrupting things in themselves. I mean, every time I've gotten in my life to a place where I have some degree of success in our terms, I feel like I'm the crappiest human being in those times that I've ever been. It's so easy to get caught up in, oh, I'm pretty good at this. I'm making really good money. Let's more, starting to get an inflated sense of yourself based on some little bit of success. And it's addicting. It's an addiction. And seeing what I become and realizing I do not like this person, I could be much more financially better off than I am if I cared about making money. And sometimes, yeah, I struggle with that. Am I being irresponsible that I'm not able to find that balance somewhat? I like who I am much better. I'm a much softer person, a much more caring person when I put the people in my life first and I make time for other humans.
Do you see yourself possibly getting into another relationship? Is that something you would be interested in?
Loaded. I mean, I had a boyfriend from kindergarten on, basically. I was married to my daughter's father for 10 years. I was with my last partner for over 20 years. Like, I have almost never been really single for very long. And now it's been 4 years. Relationships to me are a constant compromise. But now it's been 4 years. It's hard sometimes. I feel, yeah, definitely. I think we have that pull to want a partner in life, to want to share our lives with someone, to have a witness to our lives. The more I want it, the more I realize I'm still not ready for it. I don't feel like I've ever had a successful relationship. I'm not a good communicator in a relationship. I want to do things my way, and I'm getting more used to that. So I don't know if I will ever be relationship material again.
You know what I've noticed is that if you found the right person, quotes, air quotes here, whatever that was, that matched you,
Yeah.
those issues don't even come up.
And I dream that that's out there. I do. I dream that there's someone who wants to travel with me part of the time and
Or lets you go on your own.
and I had that in my last relationship. I traveled a lot on my own, and he was really great about being cool with that. And, so I had a lot of freedom within that relationship, and that's why it lasted as long as it did. But he didn't want to travel with me. And I want someone to, at least part of the time want to travel with me.
So you're going to Portugal next?
I'm flying into Barcelona.
Barcelona, Spain.
Yes, to Spain, but just as only spending a couple of days there on my way to go back to Italy.
How long are you going to be in Italy?
I buy one-way tickets, and I don't have any real solid plans. Theoretically, my plan is to be there for at least a month and then possibly fly from there to Oaxaca because I have things I need to take care of there.
Well, if I don't get over to see you, you got to stay in touch.
So I do have a reason that I'm going back, and that is that I have become close with a young family there. She's American, he's Italian, and they just had another baby. And I've also developed a really close bond with their little daughter, who's almost 3 years old. So the idea of waiting that long to meet the baby and go see Flores again, just a year seemed too long.
Jill, thank you. Thank you so much. I mean, we can talk for quite a while, but I want you to stay in touch, and we may do another podcast.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. How to live your dream life.
That's a good one. Maybe, or the announcement of your book.
Oh, yeah, hopefully.
Jill's story reminds us that creativity is often about surrender, allowing life to unfold, being willing to sit in the spaces in between, and letting the questions linger without rushing to answer them. Living an artist's life takes courage. It calls in unexpected ways. It is different for every person and can't be duplicated or taught. It requires you to listen when the creative urge wants to speak and promises nothing in return except fulfillment of your heart. This sense of courage and personal commitment is what I took away from my conversation with Jill Lust, an artist of life who has embraced the unknown and let it shape her in ways that a fixed path never could. Many hesitate at the edge of uncertainty between comfort and the call for something bigger. But what if we leaned in? What if we let ourselves drift, not aimlessly, but with trust? Driftwood Conversations explores the creative life, the resilience it takes to embrace it thoroughly, and the realization that for some, it's not a choice, it's a calling. If this resonates with you, I'd love to hear from you. You can follow Driftwood Conversations on Substack and social media, and I hope you'll join me for the next conversation, wherever it may lead.